we've made our way to study 15 in our Reframing Your View series. It's in Luke 19:11 through 27 that we have the parable of the 10 Minas. Luke 19:11 tells us, as they heard these things, he proceeded to tell a parable, he being Jesus, because he was near to Jerusalem and because they supposed that the kingdom of God was to appear immediately. Now I want us to think about something here. It says, as they heard these things. What things had they heard? It's actually the context to our parable. And it's the story of Zacchaeus. If you look at verses 1 through 11, you see this familiar story. A story about the little guy, Zacchaeus, who wants to see Jesus. He hears him coming through his town and the crowd's gathering to go meet him out in Jericho. And he races over to see this Jesus who he's probably heard so much about. It's in the story that we know that Zacchaeus can't see over the crowd, so he has to climb up into a sycamore tree. And it tells us that he climbs up and he's overlooking over the crowd what Jesus is doing there. And as the story goes, Jesus makes his way over to the tree. And he looks up and he says, "Hey, you come down. I'm going to your house today." And we have to understand, this would have been a very, very shocking thing for people to understand. Why would Jesus go over to his house? And the reason it would have been shocking, maybe even scandalous, is because of who Zacchaeus was. He was a chief tax collector. And understand, in Jesus' day, it was the tax collectors that worked with the Roman government. The tax collectors, they were Jewish people, but they collected for Rome, the oppressive government that overruled Israel at the time. And so Zacchaeus was a very hated man. He robbed from the poor and gave to the rich. And he himself, the text tells us, was very rich. In other words, he made his wealth by overcharging people on their taxes. And so he was extra despised in one way or another. Here's the thing about this story. It's Jesus who goes over to Zacchaeus' house. And it's in that home that Zacchaeus comes to place his trust, we might put it this way, in Jesus. It's where Zacchaeus becomes redeemed and forgiven. He actually tells Jesus that he's going to repay everyone he has cheated and give to the poor and repay fourfold what he has taken from his brethren. It's an awesome story of redemption, but it's also a story that really challenges our way of thinking. It challenged their way of thinking, it challenges our way of thinking, and here's the thinking. We're all in favor of salvation. We're all in favor of forgiveness. It's just when we really personalize it, it's hard for us to understand it when it's someone who has hurt us or wronged us. This is the context of the parable of the minas. We can't overlook this story if we are to understand the parable. So we're going to do this in two parts. The first part is the story of Zacchaeus. I want us to consider what it means for us to know that Jesus came, as he tells us in verses 10 and 11, to seek and save the lost. Yes, everyone. To seek and save even the person who may have hurt us or done something wrong to us. So before we get into the study questions, take some time first to go through Luke chapter 19 and read verses 1 all the way through 27. But for part 1 here, I want us to focus on verses 1 through 11. After you've read that, get into the study questions provided for you.